Conversations.
Welcome to Gallatin Conversations. I'm sitting down with Colter Metcalf, who's running for District 3 Commissioner in Gallatin County. Hi, Colter. Thank you for having me.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming and visiting with me.
I appreciate you sitting down with me. So you are born and raised in Montana, right?
So, yeah, I was born in Montana. I was actually born in Billings. My dad was born here. We bounced kind of all over when I was growing up, but Bozeman was always the home base. So I'm the fourth or fifth generation of Metcalfs to live in this county, depending on who you ask. But, yeah.
Any particular reputation go with those 4 or 5 generations?
Oh, gosh. It's funny that you say that. My wife worked at First Security Bank for a long time, and people would come up to her desk, and they would see her name, Lindsay Metcalf, her name tag on there, and people would say, "You're a Metcalf?" And she would go, "That depends. Who's asking?" So I mean, overall, I'm so proud of my family and my family name, and I love that we have such a rich history in the community. But there's definitely been some colorful Metcalfs throughout the years, for sure. Absolutely.
Montana's such a big state. Sometimes, and there's a lot of small towns. Sometimes those reputations don't extend outside of the
True. Yeah, true.
Small areas.
Yeah. I will say it seems like you can't throw a rock in this valley without hitting a Metcalf or a derivative thereof. There's a lot of us, that are related. My grandma, when I was a kid, she used to throw family reunions, and there would be, probably like 250 people that would show up to these things. And I still have people that come up to me to this day that say, "I'm your something cousin. Great to see you or meet you, depending on the occasion."
2-3 times removed or
totally.
whatever.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But it's great. I love that. I love having a lot. I had to import my wife from out of state to avoid inbreeding. She came to me from Idaho. So, yeah. It was good. Yeah.
And so you went to, you grew up more in the Gallatin Valley then? Or
we bounced
Billings?
all over the place. My dad was, a ranch cowboy, and we moved all over the state of Montana. We lived in Great Falls, White Sulphur. We did a stint in Texas, but Gallatin Valley was always kind of home base. We'd always kind of come back here. Yeah.
So what's that like growing up? So if you're not in one spot consistently,
it was a great way to grow up. I got to see a lot of different places and experience a lot of different things. I was homeschooled, so it went well with kind of our like cowboy nomadic culture growing up, working at all these different ranches that Dad worked at and stuff. That was awesome. But it was great to come back to a place that we felt like we had roots.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. Yeah.
So you were homeschooled. Did you go to high school or college?
Yeah, so I went to, I did a couple years of private school. My first year in a classroom with anybody else was 7th grade. I went to Petra Academy. 5th grade I went to Heritage Christian School. 7th grade I went to Petra Academy. That was the second year that Petra Academy ever existed. It was me and one other gal in the 7th grade, which was wild. All of our classrooms were just separated by curtains at the carpet mill outlet. That was cool. Then my first year of public school was at Bozeman High School my sophomore year. And then I did sophomore, junior, senior year at Bozeman High, and then did a little bit of college. Never really took before I found my way into law enforcement.
Okay, so ever since kind of late teens, early 20s, you've been in law enforcement?
Yep. I started really young. I went through the academy when I was 20 years old.
Okay.
Yep, and I've worked at a number of different law enforcement agencies throughout the state. I think my first cop job, I was actually 21 when I started. I think 21 or 22, I can't remember, but I was pretty young. But yeah, that's been quite the ride of a career. Seen a lot of cool things, been able to contribute a lot to helping people, which has been really cool to see. And yeah, this was very fortuitous, this opportunity to run for county commissioner. Commissioner McFarland left partway through his term. And so this thing kind of just like fell into my lap. And I feel it's a very natural progression. Still love law enforcement, very passionate about that career field, but I just feel like I'm going to be able to help in a different capacity, which I'm really excited for.
Before we get into the commission, do you have a favorite story as a police officer? Or
Oh man,
I'm sure you've got so many stories.
I got a ton of them. There's some really funny things that have happened. No PG funny things that have happened, but lots of funny things that have happened. And I mean, there's some PG things. I will tell you, probably the coolest feeling that you get as a cop, and I've had this happen a handful of times throughout my career. The last one was just, a few months before I retired. I was sitting up at a restaurant, and we were paying for our meal. We split up the check. It was me and my wife and a few other couples that all had dinner. And the waitress comes up and she goes, "Which one of you is Colter Metcalf?" And I kind of sheepishly raised my hand, because you never know when you're a cop. Is it going to be like, are you going to get somebody that's upset with you, or which is, that happens, and you deal with it. But I raised my hand, and she came over and she just started crying. And she said, you saved my life. You got me out of a really terrible situation. And you helped me get out and start a new life for myself. And it was just, that's what keeps you coming back to the job, because the job can be so thankless on certain days. But if you have that kind of an impact positively on somebody's life, that'll keep you going for another 10 years right there. It's great when that sort of stuff happens. Those are some of my favorite stories to tell.
And so you said you retired?
Yeah.
When, do you mind if
No, I retired. My first day of retirement was April 1st. So just a little while ago. Still getting adjusted to being retired. I honestly thought I was going to have more beer drinking time than I've had. But that's okay. This campaigning thing has been keeping me driven and keeping me going in a direction. So that's been great.
So, okay. So then you were not going to have to work around being a police officer while you're...
Nope. I am a government pensioner at this point. So I'm no longer a law enforcement officer. And that, that sweet government pension's already made its way into my bank account once. It didn't feel real. I'm pretty sure they're going to catch on or something at some point and stop sending it to me, because it feels like free money at this point. But
I'm not trying to cover too much of the same topic, but good. You were on a podcast, trying to find the name of the podcast.
Tim and Kyle's podcast.
Yeah, there it is.
That's right. Yeah.
Tim and Kyle's podcast. So I wasn't going to get into the rodeo and the comedy too much, because I don't want to
talk about it.
Too much crossover.
For sure.
People can go look at their podcast in order to find some. But we'll touch on, you were a comedian?
Sure. Yeah, I've done stand-up.
Yeah,
I've done stand-up comedy. It's really therapeutic when I was a cop to be able to go and do stand-up comedy, because every cop will tell you the stuff that we see can be traumatic, but our chief weapon to survive some of those difficult times is being able to laugh about it. Mm-hmm. And some of it is gallows humor, which you get accustomed to, but it's really such a phenomenal coping mechanism. And it allowed me a creative outlet to kind of speak my mind and speak my opinions, which was great. And I love it. And I'm eager to continue doing that once in a while. It's going to be great. But yeah, I've always liked making people laugh, even before I was a cop. So any chance I get to do that is fun.
I should have asked earlier, what is your favorite beer? You said you didn't have enough. We haven't had enough beer drinking time. What is your favorite?
That's funny that you say that, because I've kind of run the gambit. I did the middle-aged yuppie thing and drank IPAs for a long time and stuff. But as I get older, I love a good Coors Light, man. Just my good old faithful rodeo beer, Coors Light. That's it's awesome. Yeah, on a hot day. So you said that you kind of the commission opportunity to run for the commission kind of fell into your lap. Yeah. What's the story behind that? Kind of what inspired you to run? So I was interested. I actually made a call to the Republican Central Committee and said, "Hey, is there anything?" I didn't think that at that time that a commissioner spot was viable. I didn't know that the commissioner was leaving at that time for sure. I kind of had heard a rumor or two, but I thought also the way I was reading the district maps, I was incorrect. That I wouldn't have been eligible to run for the vacant seat that was about to happen. And I talked with some folks from the Republican committee, and are there anything that you need help with, or anything that you would, think would be viable? And they brought up the fact that, oh, well, there is going to be a county commissioner vacancy, and you're in the correct district for that. And I was like, that's actually what I really wanted to do in the first place. So it was very fortuitous that this seat opened up. It's a shame Commissioner McFarland didn't want to complete his term, but I'm really excited to jump in and hit the ground running. It's going to be fun.
Hit the ground running. So what are you looking to do when you say hit the ground running?
Well, I understand after a career in law enforcement that this county is just exploding. Growth is, really the main thing that we're bumping our heads against. And it affects everything from water rights to, zoning's a huge thing right now. How are we going to zone our county? People and, the affordability crisis is very difficult in Gallatin County. And being a fiscal conservative, I believe that probably one of the best ways to combat that is to try to put more money back into people's pockets. I think that we should work hard to cut down on government expenditures that don't need to be there and put more money back into your pocket at the end of the day so that you can afford to rent or buy in this beautiful county.
Do you have an idea where to find those? Because the county is responsible for local services, police, fire department, and then schools. So where do you think you're going to find the cost savings, you think? Or is it going to be totally in the administration side of the county?
I've got a few ideas. I don't want to publicly say what they are right now. I've got a few ideas of ways that we could try to do that. But I'm hopeful. Again, I've never been a county commissioner before, so I don't know for sure. And I don't want to get people's hopes up by saying the wrong thing. But I have some ideas as to how we could probably try to put some money back in your pocket.
Well, the Gallatin County is suffering some serious financial problems right now. I checked the Gallatin County website, and there are 3 audits, the 2022, 2023, 2020. I might have got the dates wrong, but there's 3 years of audits yet to be published for the state, and I know there's cash reconciliation problems. So the county needs some financial...
Correct. Yeah, and that the scope of the problem that you just mentioned is very large. And I read an auditor's report recently. I know that they've been talking about it at the commission study meetings. And I read the report, and it's rather bleak. Basically, from my understanding, they aren't able to even issue an opinion as to where where the problem is with our ability to reconcile at this time, which tells me if you're hiring an outside firm and they can't even figure it out, this is a deep running problem. I believe it was 2021 the county even lost its bond rating, which is really sad. That affects our ability, to my understanding, to get loans and use those for public infrastructure and things of that nature. That's a huge problem. The good news is, and the promise that I will make to the public is, I'm not an accountant. I don't even have a college degree. I'm a blue collar guy that did a career in law enforcement. But the one thing that I really excelled at in my career in law enforcement is getting to the bottom of things. That was really what my job was, whether it's getting to the bottom of domestic violence case or my time in investigations, doing some very complex investigations as a detective. I'm an answer finder. And I feel very comfortable saying that numbers are difficult to manipulate. There's always a paper trail someplace. Mm-hmm. And I don't need to be the smartest guy in the room. I just have to have the ability to ask the smartest guy in the room or the smartest guy in the next room, and I'm totally willing to do that. I've got a lot of humility in my approach to this job, and I'm going to work really hard, and I'm confident that we're going to be able to find out why we can't balance our checkbook in this county. I'll tell you what, man. I loved being a detective, and this sounds like maybe my best mystery yet. I think I'm going to be able to figure this out, or at least help, for sure.
It runs deep. Last I was looking, the cash reconciliation problems potentially go all the way back to 2012.
Saw
But
that.
the major ones at least go back to 2017.
Correct. Yeah, I saw that. And trying to dig back that far is going to be a challenge. The good news is, moving forward, now that all eyes are on this, and you mentioned that you're probably going to be doing an interview with Maureen. So I'm confident between all of us, we got a lot of well-intended people that work for the county, both elected and non-elected positions. I think I'm feeling really good about the fact that we're going to be able to get to the bottom of this and get it figured out. Yeah. Other than that, I will say it's such a complex problem. I'm not going to venture a guess as to how we ended up here right now, but we'll get there.
That's exciting. I'd love to have that resolved. That would be a wonderful thing for the entire county.
For sure.
And then the Gallatin County has also been in the news a lot recently for our county attorney.
Yes, that is true. Yes.
I don't know too much about it because I'm not. I work a day job, so I'm not watching too much stuff. But from my understanding, the county attorney went down to help protest ICE in Minnesota.
She did. Felt that it was important enough for her to go protest ICE in a different state.
And then our state attorney,
Austin Knudsen,
has been taking action towards her for her behavior towards ICE in the state.
Correct. So the crux, to my understanding, the beef between Attorney General Knudsen and County Attorney Audrey Cromwell lies in the fact that Cromwell was not wanting to furnish ICE with informational reports. She has her argument as to why it's okay to do that. Austin Knudsen says that ICE is a law enforcement agency just like any other. They are entitled to all information that any other law enforcement agency, whether it's federal or local or state law enforcement agency, would be entitled to. My opinion is it's pretty cut and dry. I believe that ICE is very clearly a law enforcement agency. And, when I was a law enforcement officer and we got a call from Minot PD looking for a suspect, we would help them out. And whether it was Minot PD or the FBI or the DEA or NYPD or anywhere else, if they've got a gun and a badge and they're a sworn law enforcement officer, it's not that complicated. You get them the help that they need. Mm-hmm. I think the more important thing, I understand how divisive the narrative surrounding ICE is, and I'd like to touch on that a little bit. People have heartbreak when they see families getting broken up or someone who appears to be a quality member of a society getting shipped to another country. And I understand that in and of itself is a difficult scenario to wrap your head around and get behind. I believe that we are a nation of laws, as well as being a nation of immigrants. I'm paraphrasing Bill Clinton there, for anybody that is interested. But the thing that is most shocking to me about our County Attorney Audrey Cromwell is if you just take ICE completely out of it, her lack of care for victims of crimes in general in this county is abysmal. Hundreds and hundreds of cases have been dismissed for no really good reason whatsoever. And there's nothing controversial about that. That shouldn't be controversial for people on the right or the left. If you're a victim, it's incumbent upon the government to try to take care of you. If you're a survivor of a terrible crime, whether it's a sex crime or a burglary or even, having something stolen out of your pickup truck because for whatever reason, it's important that we hold those responsible accountable. And that's just not happening in our county right now. And it's really unfortunate. And there's nothing controversial about that. Set ICE completely aside. If you have been wronged and somebody broke the law to harm you or harm your property, you deserve to be taken care of. Audrey doesn't want to do that.
I'd actually like to know more about the topic of crime in the Gallatin County because I actually don't know that much about it. Is it a growing problem?
Yes.
In the county?
Yeah, there is more crime, I believe. I haven't actually looked at this report, but I've been advised by somebody from the sheriff's office that and I don't want to step too much on Sheriff Springer's toes here, but it's my understanding that there is statistical data out there that demonstrates that crime is on the rise, specifically violent crime. And I'm not, I will tell you, criminals in general, after having met and dealt with many, many, many criminals, if they don't feel that there's if they're not fearful of repercussion from the state or being held accountable, they are very emboldened. Very emboldened. And you don't want your house getting broken into.
No.
I don't want my house getting broken into. It's bad for everybody. And it's disturbing to me that we aren't working harder to make it more challenging to be a criminal in this county.
Interesting. I grew up rural.
Yeah.
I'm technically suburban, but it's a quiet neighborhood. So I haven't been exposed to much crime here. So it'll be interesting to...
Well, brother, I got to tell you, lock your house and lock your car.
I do still have a 9mm.
Good.
So
Good.
and my 22.
Awesome. Are you proficient with them?
The 9mm, no. I need to get out and shoot the handgun more.
Yeah, you gotta. So that's a big part of it. I'm a huge Second Amendment advocate, and as a law enforcement officer, all too often, I would arrive moments after the bad thing has happened, and I'm picking up the pieces. And as much as I wanted to be there and save the day, frequently that is not the nature of the job. Nobody is better at taking care of themselves than that person themselves. Mm-hmm. And if you are proficient with a firearm and you know how to defend yourself and you know the boundaries of the law, you're going to be your best advocate. And I'm a huge proponent of that. So if you want to go shooting, brother, I'll take you shooting. I'll try to help as much as I can.
I've got guns on my list of things to get. I feel like every man needs a 22, a handgun, a shotgun, and then a fun gun.
Well, I think every man needs 4 or 5 of each of those.
Yeah,
probably.
4 or 5 each.
Yeah,
I don't have the funding for that, but maybe one day. Maybe
you're a young
one day.
man. You'll get there. For
Maybe
sure.
one day.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite?
A favorite firearm?
Firearm?
Oh man, so I like them all for different things. I have a really cool, I wish that it was from more of a reputable brand, but for like fun guns, one of my favorite ones is this shotgun called a Keltec KSG, which is a bullpup design, meaning that its overall length is about that long, and you can carry 14 shotgun shells in that thing, and you can actually alternate between which kind of shotgun shell you want very rapidly. And it looks like it's from like a Halo video game. So that's pretty sick. Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for a good shotgun.
Oh,
I specifically like sporting clays.
Oh, shooting clays is so much fun.
But like I got the opportunity to go, I think it's called sporting clays, where they like come over, like it's almost like golf, but with clays.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's so much fun.
I need to figure out how to do that more often, because I've only done it twice, and both times I'm like,
have you ever gone to shoot clays at the Logan range?
That's where I did the sporting clays. It was a one-time event, but
I think they've got a club out there.
Growing up, my grandfather had property on the other side of Highlight.
Oh, cool.
From the Paradise Valley side, and so I shot a lot of clays up there. We had just a pull cord slinger.
Yeah.
And
we'd
shoot clays off the deck.
Great. So, love it. Off the deck?
Off the deck.
That's so much fun. That's great. I love it.
I definitely don't get out shooting enough.
Let's get you out there.
Honestly, the hardest part is finding I was so spoiled growing up. Like, we had private property. I don't have that kind of access to that kind of property anymore, and going to public, it's hard to find areas in the Gallatin County to shoot. The last time I shot, we went over to Norris and up into the...
Yep. Yeah, that is going to be a challenge. As there are more people around, there are less good places for bullets to go. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. It's we're very blessed in the fact that even though Gallatin County is becoming more dense, and I know we just lost a chunk of shooting ground, or it got diminished near Logan last year. As more people move in, it makes it harder to pursue that particular recreational hobby. I talked to numerous people who were just so frustrated, and I would be livid too. With that ground in Logan that got diminished, they had bullets in the side of their house from people, and unfortunately, we don't make laws to the greatest common denominator. We make them to the lowest common denominator. Some people are not most folks aren't nearly as good at shots as they think they are, and bullets have a way of causing problems when you don't know exactly where they're going to end up. I'll tell you what, if I woke up and had a bullet in the side of my house and I had a young child in the room on the other side of that, which I believe was the scenario that I'm specifically referring to, I would be livid.
Oh, man.
I would be livid. The good news is, if you drive 30 minutes in just about any direction, the land opens up a lot.
That's
There's a
true.
lot of great places to go shooting.
For now.
For now.
For now.
For now. For now. Yeah.
So, I asked you about some issues I was aware of in the county. So, District 3, what is the areas of District 3 generally?
So it's kind of the western end of the county, Belgrade, Manhattan, Three Forks, then it goes south to kind of like part of the greater Gallatin Gateway area through there.
So, the people in that district, have they asked you about anything specific, or seeing if you can do something for them for District 3 in the commissioner seat, or like an issue that they care about?
I think the folks that I have talked with, because it's definitely like the most rural area of the county, the folks that I have talked with are very excited to see somebody that comes from a rural background running for this position. And I feel like, a lot of the rural areas in our county are underrepresented. And I don't mean that as a dig on the current county commissioners or anything like that. It's just most folks that are in agriculture tend to stay in agriculture. They don't have any interest in going into politics. Don't blame them. It's a hard job, and you're not going to make a lot of money at it if you're doing it right. And so I think they're really excited to have somebody with kind of a rural background and somebody that cares about the land.
So, land, when you say cares about the land, can you be a little more
Specific?
Like, are you talking about
I'm talking about
ag or ranch?
Or? People that are, having somebody that's familiar with agriculture backgrounds, ranching backgrounds, somebody that is passionate. I'm both passionate about public lands as well as protecting property rights as well. And there's as much, I think, as the world wants to put us into these two warring factions of public lands versus private property holders, I think that there's some real solid middle ground there. The problem being, for example, I have a good friend who used to call the sheriff's office because people who would float on a section of river, we have some of the best water laws, or river access laws in the country in Montana, where you can go anywhere on a floatable river as long as you're below the high water mark. Well, people didn't respect that on the land that he's caretaking. And that's a challenge, right? I don't want somebody traipsing through my yard or the farmland that I have and being irresponsible there. But again, I'm a huge fan of public lands, and I'm a huge river rat. I'm on the river probably at least once a weekend every summer. And but it takes us all being partners and being responsible with these access laws that we have, for sure.
Outside of representing so you represent your district, but for you personally, outside of what we've already discussed, is there a particular issue or problem, or just something you want to see done in the county that you want to help make happen?
Overall, I will say this. I'm very excited to bring a conservative voice to the county commission. It's been a while since we've had a Republican. And believe it or not, I talked with former Commissioner Scott McFarland, and I will say the other commissioners, I've talked with all of them. They have been extremely supportive of my running. And Scott even mentioned to me, he said, you know what, I think it's a good thing to have some balance on the commission. I think that the way I echoed his words back to me was he had the feeling that when it was 3 Democrats on the commission, it almost gave people the excuse to not participate in local politics if they were on the right. It was almost like, well, they're not going to listen to me anyway. It's just 3 Democrats up there. Well, now I think if you're a conservative and you're in this county, hopefully you feel like you've got some representation and you're willing to show up to a couple of these county commissioner meetings and make some good things happen. It's really interesting to me. I'm finding out how difficult it is to get folks to care about local politics. You know, as long as things are somewhat functioning, people have their lives to live and they don't really want to get involved that much. But this form of government works best when we all participate. And hopefully me being there will help people participate.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever actually been to a commissioner meeting, so I can't say too much myself.
Well, to be fair, they're usually quite boring. They're all important, but unless it's a specific issue that you are invested in, I can see why people don't go to all of them. But that's okay. That's why hopefully folks will elect me. I'll be happy to go there. Even still, I would love to be able, if you're out there listening, I want you at the county commissioner meetings. I want each of you to come and hang out and have your voices heard on these issues. I'm willing to listen.
Commission is kind of interesting because it's legislative and executive.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is different from how the state is set up and how the federal is set up.
Correct.
So it's kind of, I would characterize it as a interesting way to really have an impact on your local community.
Absolutely. I think that there's, a far depth and breadth of issues that goes before the county commission. And, the impacts are very direct to the public. And I think, again, not to sound like a broken record, but having a conservative voice on there gives access to a big part of this county that probably doesn't feel very represented right now, given the trend lines for city governments and county governments in this county for the last 10 or 15 years. Probably even a little longer than that.
So more of the day-to-day functioning things, I know a lot of people are currently upset with like road maintenance, especially in the winter.
Totally.
Are you aware is that just a hiring issue? Is that do you know what the issue there is, or is that kind of a get in and see?
I actually I met with the supervisor of county roads, Levi Ewan. He is a very, very smart and very, very capable guy. And really, I think the big thing that I'm hearing from everybody is it all comes down to money. Everybody, every division of the county feels like if they had more money, they would have more access to do things better. Now, that being said, I just talked a lot about wanting to put money back in your pocket. So hopefully I don't see myself trimming any fat from the county road department at all whatsoever. In fact, I'd like to get to know them more and understand, why is it some of our roads have significant potholes? What's our time frame for repairing these roads? Why? Because it's a consistent complaint from a very large swath of this county. Why is Cottonwood Road try to rattle you off into the ditch every time you drive down it if you're driving the speed limit? I think we can do better. And I think, I'm not picking on Levi. He's a really smart guy. I'm just eager to find out what I can do to help him.
Mm-hmm. I had another one in my mind and I forgot it. Because it was the roads and then, zoning. Zoning. That's becoming a particular...
It's a sticky wicket.
Because I think Bozeman came up with a zoning plan and is trying to get the county to adopt it as well. I don't know. I should monitor that issue more closely. I don't know if the county's already adopted it or not, but I think I saw on your website that you were running a little bit on zoning.
Here's what I will say about zoning. I don't want to overstep my bounds and try to zone anything outside of the consent of the people that live there. I believe that if you live in, what's a good example? If you live in Dry Creek and you want to see something zoned, then there's going to be a way that we're going to be able to work with you and find zoning that you like. If you want to zone it for commercial, you want to subdivide or whatever you want to do. But I hate to make blanket rules that cover the entire county because the needs of Dry Creek are vastly different from that of the needs of Big Sky and West Yellowstone and those areas. If this whole government thing only works because of the consent of the governed. So really what it comes down to is what do you want, in your neighborhood, in your county? You want to keep it wide open with minimal zoning, then that's what we should do. If you want to be able to capitalize, you and your neighbors want to be able to capitalize and try to make the most money out of the land that you have there, then we should look at that.
Keeping on track of government duties, in my personal opinion, the closer you get to the locality or the problem, the better served you are to fix it. There's been a large conversation about education reform at the state level. I'm curious if there's actual things that could be done in the county, specifically for our county schools, that could help, because you're closer to the issues here.
I do believe that local government is probably the best suited to solve a lot of issues. I don't have kids. I'm not the most well versed to say on how we could probably impact some of the school. I know that there's some things that we could do out there, and I'm eager to hear from your listeners or anybody else out in the public if they want to see something changed in the local school system, then I'm all ears. Let's tackle it together and find some answers.
I haven't actually heard anybody talking about it on the county level besides complaining about property taxes.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking through it the other day and I was like, there's got to be county stuff that you can do.
It probably is.
Because all the funding runs through the county. Property taxes is coming through the county. So I just...
Yeah, well, I'm definitely open to it. And there's, again... I don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. I just got to be willing to ask the smartest guy that I can find. And I'm totally willing to do that. So if there's a big need to change our school structures in this county, I know I will tell you this, we have a vast number of extremely rural schools. Our school resource officer, we only had one for a long time. We just got a second one with the sheriff's office right before I left. But they service between two school resource officers. What is it? I want to say 15 or 20 rural schools, which is just insane. That is one thing that comes to the top of my mind. I would love to find money to give the sheriff's office for more school resource officers. I have talked with our school resource officers numerous times, and they are just worked like dogs trying to make it to all of these different schools. And they do a phenomenal job. But when you look at Bozeman Police Department that has 8, 10, 12 school resource officers for the city of Bozeman, and we've got 2 that cover 15 or 20 schools, that's a huge discrepancy. I think we could probably do better than that.
Now, when I was in school, it was Brian Adams. Brian Adams was
the
resource
Yeah.
He was the resource officer when I was going through the schools.
What year did you graduate?
So let's see here. I went to Gateway and then I went to Bozeman High. So I graduated Bozeman High. Man, I need to keep track of my dates better.
That's all right.
I don't
no
think
worries.
I think 2014 I think is when I graduated high school.
Gotcha. Yeah, Brian Adams. So when I worked for Bozeman PD, I think he was a school resource officer. When I went to Bozeman High, it was Peg Ash. She was the school resource officer. And it was a really weird dynamic because I graduated Bozeman High, and then like 3 years later, she was now my training officer. And so going from having her be like, this kind of ominous, and I think that it's not really the same now. All the kids love their school resource officers. But when I was in school, the school resource officer was always kind of associated with punishment. Like, they're going to catch you doing something bad. They're the ones that are going to write you the ticket. But having her go from that to being my training officer in just a few years was a trip, but it was fun. It was cool.
I imagine so. Anything we didn't cover or talk about that you want to talk about?
Man, I don't think so. I'm just so thankful for you to come out and chat with me, and I hope that your listeners get something out of it. I am far from perfect or an expert in all facets of government, but I'm eager to learn. And I think it was Einstein that said, I'm going to paraphrase something to the effect of, the definition of being an intelligent person is the ability to change. And I've been nothing if not fluid throughout my lifetime. And so I'm super excited to tackle this new career and this new job. And we're gonna see some good things happen.
I'm trying to be careful. Sometimes this turns into random thoughts with Josh.
That's okay. Nothing wrong
in
with
my
that.
questions, they kind of come from many different angles. So the last question I have, I forgot to do it with the last guy. It was an accident. The conversation just felt like it was wrapping up nicely, and I forgot to ask before it
It's all
ended.
good.
But I am going to pick it back up with you.
Okay.
It's the Montana legacy question. If what is one thing you hope that future generations of Montanans keep or understand or know?
I love our fierce spirit of self-reliance in this state. We are a state that is largely, it's easy to forget that when you're in Bozeman, when you're in downtown Bozeman, but we are a vast state with rural, which is mostly rural. And we have such a proud tradition in the state of being self-reliant, independent people, and the government. We are and we're people that know that the government can't solve everything. And as long as we keep that in our mind and strive for a small government that serves the people, we're going to keep that Montana legacy alive, for sure.
If people want to support you or find you or
Great.
read more about you, where do they go?
Metcalfformontana.com is my website. Also, Facebook, I believe, is Metcalf for Montana. Feel free to drop me a line. I'm eager to meet and talk with anybody that wants to talk.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a ton. Appreciate it.